Good afternoon, and welcome to What's New in Cocoa. 3 areas: Swiftification, AppKit, and Foundation. So Swiftification refers to the API enhancements we've done across our frameworks in support of Swift. The font property of NSMenu is decorated as null resettable, and this comes across as implicitly unwrapped optional. In this case, what this means is you can set this value to nil, but it will never return nil. What NSMenu does is if you ever set it to nil, it just simply goes back to the default font that it would have had for the system. In general, nil is not a valid object value in our APIs. NSString, NSArray, NSDictionary, etc. have easy-to-express empty values. Generics, as you've already heard, is lightweight type parameterization that we've added to Objective-C. Our first attempt in applying generics. Subviews was changed to NSArray of NSView. So we added this kind of keyword and changed the declaration of this subviews property to be NSArray of kind of NSViews. It's OK for the caller to be able to access the elements of this array as instances of the specified class or instances of a subclass as well. As you heard yesterday, Swift 2 brings an amazing error handling facility. And here's the kind of code you write to deal with this. As you can see in the catchphrase, you can capture the error. It's either available for you automatically, or you can declare it, and you can declare different catch statements, of course, as well. We are not raising exceptions here. We're actually returning errors and unwinding properly through the stack, just like what we do with NS errors. Use NS errors and Swift error handling for runtime errors, errors that you would expect to present to the user or handle at runtime, such as file not found, and so forth. And we continue to use exceptions or Swift assertions for programming errors, such as array index out of bounds. The last category, of course, are the kind of errors that are not expected to be captured. We've renamed these, in some cases, not all, to have a common prefix, which means that they now come across in Swift with a better name. Instead of .left text alignment, it comes across as .left. Now, as you know, the new Force Touch trackpad brings pressure sensitivity as well as haptic feedback. You can apply pressure to draw thin or thick strokes when you're signing your name or doing drawing in markup. As objects go into alignment, you will get haptic feedback. You set the pressure configuration of a view or gesture recognizer to indicate how the trackpad should react. We have 2 other classes, Haptic Feedback Manager and Alignment Feedback Filter, which let you customize the kind of haptic feedback you give to the user. You can also do spring loading immediately just by force-clicking on the destination. We also have a new protocol, NS Spring Loading Destination, which allows you to do spring loading on arbitrary destinations. You can swipe left or right in a table view. It's a delegate method in NS table view, row actions for row. There is a talk adopting new trackpad features Thursday morning at 10 a.m. that you can catch. That'll give you a lot more detail on these topics. Split view full screen will allow you to continue to focus on one task, but possibly bring in other window. However, there is API for opting windows in and out of tiling, and it's part of this NS window collection behavior options on NS window. Now, it's important to note that the full screen primary is that's the way you specify a window should go into full screen. Note that this is still very much an opt-in setting, an Xcode's attributes inspector as well right there, both the tiling and whether a window becomes full screen. Stack view is a very important class. It should be your first stop shop for your auto layout needs. There are 6 stack views here configured with these settings, and I will resize the window, larger, smaller, and back larger again. NS Layout Anchor is a new class. It provides a concise representation of an edge or dimension. Let's say you have 2 views and you want to create a constraint between them. Here's the code you would have had to write. With layout anchors, here's the code you can write. And NS Layout Guide is another new class. If you ever find yourself doing this sort of stuff, creating dummy views to do things like equal spacing between views, you can now instead create layout guide. Collection view, there are a bunch of images being displayed. I will first group by group with headers and footers, then use some of the custom layouts provided by this app. So you can see this app in action and hear all about these features and how to apply them in your own applications in What's New in Collection View, which is. So here are the APIs in NS Font that you can use to make sure you're using the latest system font. We do have new API for system font at different weights, system font of size and weight. Now, we do have another API here, and that's monospace system font of size, weight. That's to make sure that tabular data appears organized, or UIs with changing numbers in text don't jiggle as the numbers are changing. Here is the proportional, and here is the fixed width ones. More about the APIs in introducing new system fonts. Exclusion paths. This is the ability to easily put paths so you can wrap text around objects. Another one is two properties on text field, maximum number of lines, which is great when you're using it, especially with auto layout, or allows default tightening for truncation, which allows you to specify whether the contents of the text field should be tightened before it actually gets truncated. There are many more changes here. These are just some of the highlights. So you might be wondering, what is visual atomicity? Okay. A UI like this should appear to the user as coming up in one step. There are a number of APIs, and they all do the job, but they don't necessarily work very well together. So in 10.11, we've fixed this up so that you can achieve visual atomicity with NS animation context. We're adding block-based undo. And here's what it looks like in Objective-C, and here's what it looks like in Swift. As you'll see, there's a target argument and also a block, which is basically the code to be executed to undo the action you just did. Here's the call to register undo with target, and here's actually the code to be executed to undo the action that I might be doing. NS Coder now has error handling. For instance, if you have a subclass of NS operation, which does some one-shot operation, NS Progress also now has the ability to resume. It had the ability to pause. We've added the second part. NS Notification Center now has the ability to automatically unregister deallocated observers. NS Person Name Components Formatter. It enables proper localized formatting of names. If you ask for short, but in some other language, you might get a totally different form of the name, depending on rules of localization for that language. Isolates you from complexities of writing world-ready applications. The Person Name Components Formatter, as well as all of these facilities and more in what's new in internationalization. Let me talk about thermal state. It's got 4 values: nominal, fair, serious, critical. And there's a notification that you can get whenever this value changes. Tolerance on timers, or process info activity APIs, doing downloads in the background with NS URL session, setting quality service, and so on. So last, core data. Just very quick mention here since I'm pretty short on time. A lot of great features in core data, unique constraints and batch deletion, and many other API enhancements as well. These are many other topics I just didn't get around to, and you can read about them hopefully in our release notes.